Hi Flosstube, and welcome to Steve's Stitchy Spot, Flosstube number 3. I decided to call my Flosstube Steve's Stitchy Spot because as a former English teacher, I love alliteration and popped in my head over the last month and I was like, you know what? We'll not change the channel name, but we'll call the Flosstube Steve's Stitchy Spot. So if you're a new viewer, thank you so much for checking out today's Flosstube. And if you're returning after seeing one of my past 2 Flosstubes, or you're a crossover from my long-running knitting podcast called Dramatic Knits here on the Dramatic Knits channel, thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. I hope you will enjoy what I have to share with you today. I have 3 works in progress, a finish, yes, a finish, and a lot of haul. We're gonna jump right in because I'm gonna try to keep this video a little short. I'm not gonna go over everything that's been going on in my life over the last month and things I've been watching and reading and all my other crafting. I will save that for the Dramatic Knits podcast, which you should see popping up in your feeds in the next day or two. It usually takes me about another day or two to edit and get that video ready, even though I record them both on the same day. Let's recap March 2025 here in my cross-stitching journey. Where have we been? I haven't gotten as much stitching done this month, only because we have been traveling for work. For our business, my partner and I, we own Leading Men Fiber Arts, an independent yarn dyeing business, along with a brick and mortar yarn store and studio, and we travel to festivals and shows all over the country. This past month, we have been in Nashville, Winterset, Iowa, and Chicago as of just yesterday. When I am on the road, I don't bring my cross-stitching. I prefer to be in my stitching spot, in front of my computer, listening to books, and having all of my tools and items around me. Let's jump right into the first project that I worked on in March, and that is Fruits of Plenty, The Fruits of Plenty. I always say it wrong. The Fruits of Plenty by Modern Folk Embroidery. This was Jacob's Stitch Along that started in 2021. I started it in May of 2021 and worked on it exclusively for about 3 years here until I started my Flosstube channel, where I broke the seal and decided to start a bunch of different projects. It was spun on my random wheel. I used the Tiny Decisions app. And I didn't get a whole lot of stitches on this. Before I tell you how many stitches I got on this project, I did forget last Flosstube. I have been counting all my stitches. This month, in the month of March up through today, I have stitched 2,688 stitches since the last time I recorded. I know a lot of people that I watch stitch more than that in a week or less. But again, as I've been chatting with people in the comments on my Flosstube videos, it's about the journey, it's not a race, and I firmly believe that. So on the Fruits of Plenty, I stitched 204 stitches for 3 days because that was the week we were traveling to Nashville. So I didn't have a whole lot of days that week to work on this. But yeah. So this is being stitched on 32 count Belfast linen dyed by Picture This Plus in the Tycho colorway. And I did not write it down, but let me look at my flosses. I am using 2 shades of blue DMC. The first one is 931. And the second is 3750. That's the darker blue. So when I picked colors, I didn't choose the exact colors that he recommended in the pattern, I don't believe, but I chose 2 blues that I thought closely represented the pattern because I'm still a new stitcher, even though I've been stitching for years, but I'm just now branching out into using different counts, different colors, and making designs my own. So where is the top? This piece is so big. I do need to invest in a whiteboard so that I can clip these on and show these a little bit better. But here is where I'm at so far. And let me bring you down to where I was working, which was down in this area. So not a whole lot. Somewhere over in this area was where I was stitching. I probably added some of the lighter blue down there. And I'm getting close to being able, once I finish out this line, I'll be able to then put in, I was gonna put my second initial in, because this is, Steve, this is my first name. I was gonna put my second initial, but I actually think I'm gonna do an A for Steve and Andy to represent our house, because our house is blue, and while it doesn't exactly look like this, we do have a 4-square house. And so it reminds me of our house in the center. I didn't realize till well after I stitched this that Jacob included different options for this center house motif, because I imported it into Pattern Keeper, and it just went with the original design. So, but I'm happy. It doesn't bother me that I didn't choose a different motif to put in there. So that's where this is going. It is being stitched 2 threads over 2 here on this 32 count, and it is coming along. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. We'll see when it gets spun again. I just respun this morning and picked my project that I'm going to be working on this week, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. So that's going. At least I got to touch that. All right, the next project that got spun on my wheel was Tree of Dreams by Joy Sunday. This was a kit I picked up online, and you can see the finished object there, or the finished design in the editing that I'm doing. And, oh, there's a lot of floss and stuff in this bag. So this is a pre-printed kit on 14 count Aida. It is not my favorite thing to stitch on, but I will just show you this small corner here that I worked on. So what I've been focusing on is putting in a thread of confetti starting from the upper left, and then I've been putting in a thread of black because there's more stitching and easier to kind of see some progress and fill in without having to really search for symbols as much. So it's going. Again, it's going to be a large piece when it is done. But I'm making progress on it. So again, this is 14 count pre-printed fabric, and I got a total of 495 stitches. So I'm at a 1.8% complete. This is of course not in Pattern Keeper, but because it is full coverage, and I believe it's 250 stitches by 300 stitches, I was able, and it's full coverage, I was able to figure out that this is 75,000 stitches, I believe, in total. So I'm at 1.8%. I went up 0.2%, I think, that week. And I did get to work on that for 6 days that week. So again, 2 over 2, of course, on that. Let me try to shove this back in the bag here. And then the next week, I actually pulled a new start. And as I told you last episode, or last Flosstube, I was planning on starting Friendsheep by Romy's Creations. She has a Facebook group, and she has several designs. In fact, she just released one or two, that are free if you join her group. And I was watching another Flosstube channel, and they mentioned this design. And I was like, you know what, that would be a good, quick project to get done and have something finished here in the shop. I think I'm actually going to put it in a frame and on the mantle here. I was having some deliberations, but I ended up finishing the project. So what I did is I used 14 count cream Aida that came in a kit that I had knew I wasn't going to use the Aida in a kit for when I eventually get around to starting it. And I had purchased 310 white and then a Coloris DMC, variegated red and purple and pink. And I stitched it, but the white sheep were not standing out from this cream Aida as much as I thought it would. So I was debating actually not back stitching, stitching the whole entire background in a light blue to make them stand out. And I was talking with one of our studio assistants who also cross stitches, and she's like, just back stitch it. And I was like, I'm not a huge fan of back stitching. I don't know a ton about it to like make it look good. But I thought, you know what, this was a quick project. I got it done in a week minus the back stitching. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna sit down, and one night I did the back stitching. The first sheep I'm not totally in love with. The second sheep went a little bit better. So here is my finished object and or my finished piece. This is not a fully finished piece because I will need to put it in some sort of frame. I'm thinking a nice red frame, something small. I need to measure this. I did tell my partner, Andy, I said, you know what, you're gonna be not necessarily my framer, but I would love if you'd like pick out the frames and stuff. So when I do get stuff professionally framed, I'm gonna let him take stuff in, and hopefully if I can convince him and pick out the frames and coordinate with the project. But you can see here, this one I was kind of like back stitching right up to the X's, and there wasn't a whole lot, so it looks kind of weird there. But this one I went a little farther out, and I think it looks a little bit better. And it definitely does help the sheep stand out. So yeah, this was completed. So it's 100% done, start and finish, all in 1 week. And again, this is 14 count cream Aida, a total of 872 stitches minus the back stitching, and it's 100% complete in 6 days. So that is Friendsheep by Romy's Creations. So that's been sitting. We'll see how long before it actually gets fully finished into a frame. But all right, and the last project that I worked on this month, I just threw in my final stitches this morning before I took it off the Q-snap to get ready to come here and record. And that is A Year at Hawk Run Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. I'm stitching this on 40 count Newcastle linen dyed by Picture This Plus in the color doubloon. And I got a total of 1,117 stitches on this over 8 days of stitching. So I finished Friendsheep a day early in like my weekly rotation. So it got an extra day there. And then because I was waiting to take this off the Q-snap till this morning, excuse me, I'm trying not to sneeze. I did throw a thread of floss into this morning, got another 70 stitches in. But I did show you the final design, and I think I actually did sit down and take a picture of this before I started putting any stitches into this. So here is where we are in the January block. And yeah, it's not in Pattern Keeper, so I can't give you a percentage done. But I did get the rest. I had the S done this morning, but I got should, ud, and ode. Old. Didn't get the D done, but yeah, this was a lot of fun to see the picture come together, and that's truer to color. But it is a lot of few stitches here and there, finish, move over, a lot of color changes to get, in the birds and things like that. But the gentleman is completely done with his beer mug. I've got the trees, all the verses done here. I got the bluebird and the white bird done, and I got the shoes and started in on the lady's dress that says January. So not too much to go. Hopefully the next time this gets pulled in my rotation, I will be able to finish out January, which would be really great to see like 1/12 of it done. But, again, it's going to be a big piece. So, yeah. Again, working on 40 count is still a bit of a challenge, but you're never going to get better at anything unless you keep working at it. And it's not bad enough that I don't enjoy it or won't stitch on it. That pre-printed fabric on Tree of Dreams, some days I'm like, I don't enjoy stitching on this, but I still persevere. So those are the 4 projects that I worked on over the last month since we've chatted last. And yeah, I'm happy with my progress. I'm enjoying my projects. The project that got selected for me this week is Make a Wish by Carolyn Manning Designs, which again is on 14 count Ada, but it has tons of fun, bright colors in there. So I'm gonna enjoy getting that on the Q-Snap and starting working on that this evening. And yeah, I think after that, the only project left that I haven't touched is the 2020 pandemic sampler. So that'll be next week's, because I know that's the final project on my wheel. So the way that I work my rotations, just in case you're wondering, that works for me is I have all my projects on a wheel, and one of the options is New Start. So I have to go through my entire wheel before it will reset. So I need to spend a week with each of my projects before the wheel starts over again. And one of those new projects is going to be a New Start. Once I start that, that's an option on the wheel. And then when I reset the wheel, I add another option for New Start. So every time I touch all of my projects in that rotation will be a New Start. And as things finish, those things will drop off the wheel. But again, I'm a BAP stitcher, a big, awesome project stitcher. So there's not a whole lot of small projects that I am currently working on. That doesn't mean I'm not going to start some medium to small size projects in the future. It is just finding the projects that kind of meld with my style and what draws my attention. So that being said, I don't think I have any questions that I needed to answer with the comments of last Flosstube, but thank you so much to everybody who gave recommendations, shared stories, and left me comments on my last Flosstube. Thank you so very much. I appreciate the conversation that is starting and going on here on the channel. And yeah, just thank you. It's been really awesome. I've been introduced to a bunch of people. Some people have recommended their own Flosstube channels, and some have recommended other people for me to check out, and I appreciate that. I have been subscribing to people left and right. It's quickly getting to the point where I just can't keep up, but I do enjoy when I get to sit down. Usually with my knitting is when I watch podcasts and Flosstubes, and I enjoy being able to just sit down and catch up with people and their crafting journeys in the evenings. It's really been lovely. All right, before I go into all the haul, I do want to do a quick shout out. As promised, I said I was going to shout out 3 different Flosstubes that I enjoy every time I record. And so I have 3 that I've selected this week to talk to you about. And the first one is Stuart's and Stitches, and that's Stuart, based out of Scotland. One, love his accent. I do speed up most of my videos, and sometimes I have a hard time catching everything he's saying because of the accent, and I speed up the videos. But I enjoy catching up with him. He's just recently gone into weekly videos, and he's got such a plethora of different types of stitching and projects. I enjoy seeing his progress and enjoy his mentality of crafting, and whether he's ever going to finish some of these projects, he never knows, but he's enjoying the process, and it really connects with me. So if you're not checking out Stuart, please do so. The next Flosstuber is Willet Stitch. He is based out of, I believe, the Pensacola, Florida area. And in fact, I had left a comment on his video, and then he checked my videos out, and we were chit-chatting back and forth. So thank you so much for checking out my channel and my journey. You should definitely check out Willet Stitch. Again, a plethora of different types of projects, and I enjoy watching their journey as well. The last Flosstuber I would like to mention is Katie. That is Jeremiah's mom here on YouTube. And Katie left me a comment on my last episode recommending her channel, so I did give her a shot and subscribed. She does so many different projects, but also she does a lot of different challenges via Facebook and does acrostics every month, and watching her kind of figure out her plans that way is a lot of fun. I do enjoy watching people make plans, and everyone from people who treat this almost like a job and have spreadsheets and grids and how they're going to do this and manage that. I cannot go there because I need to enjoy this journey, and I have a lot of other crafting that I do for the knitting and yarn business that is more business related, so it takes some of that freelance joy out of it. So with stitching, I am finding what works for me, but definitely enjoy Katie's channel. And Jeremiah shows up from time to time on her videos. So if you'd like, I have all of them linked down below in the show notes below this video. All right. If you don't enjoy haul, I'll see you next month. But if you do, I want to talk about my in-person and online shopping. I was lucky enough when we were driving to Winterset, Iowa, on our route, with just a very, very small detour, I was able to visit the Be Stitch Me storefront in Moline, Illinois. They are right on the river between Iowa and Illinois. And I was able to, oh, I forgot, Brandy. I was able to meet Brandy. I walked in and, of course, in typical embarrassing Steve fashion, I walked in, I was like, where's your bathroom? We drove 2.5 hours. I really need to go to the bathroom before I can shop. But she has an amazing store, and met one of her studio assistants and felt bad, but I asked to meet her and have her come out and talked with her about my journey and about our business, Leading Men Fiber Arts, and wanting to expand into the world of cross stitch here in the storefront. And Brandy was so lovely to chat with not only me, but my partner Andy, and help me pick out floss and fabric for a project that I'm going to talk about here in just a second. But of course, I was just overwhelmed and throwing things in my basket. And then when I thought I was done, I went up to check out and they were helping another customer with something. So I was like, well, I'm not just going to stand right behind her. I'm going to look at more stuff. And so more things fell into my basket. But I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. Brandy and her team were absolutely lovely. And just to be surrounded by color in a different medium than what we do here on a daily basis was so reinvigorating. And just, I was smiling from ear to ear. It was a lovely experience. So let's just go over some of the things that I got. So I did pick up 2 packs of floss drops. She had fun, I'm assuming like 3D, not 3, or laser cut floss drops. I almost picked up some not safe for work ones, but then I was like, well, I can't really show those on the channel. So I did just get light and dark wood ovals. I do need to do some research on how to actually put floss on floss drops to the length that I want and how to do that. If you have any recommendations of videos that you, find very helpful, please feel free to link those or recommend those down in the comments. I would greatly appreciate that. But I knew I was going to need floss drops in the future, and they came with a ring to put them on. So I was like, yes, please. I picked up an 11 by 11 Q-snap because the one that I usually work off of is an 11 by 17. But as I'm moving into more or opening myself up to smaller or medium-sized projects, I did think that the 11 by 11 would come in handy in the future. I did on the Friendsheep, I worked on my 8 by 8 Q-snap, and I had to hold it in hand, and that was not very enjoyable to stitch on that in hand. I do like putting it on my floor stand and being able to hand stitch. I don't enjoy the pressure and weight on my wrist, but even I did try to stitch in hand for a while with it. And even stitching in hand, I find that my wrist and my grip really tightens up. And I know it will get better with practice, but it's just not as an enjoyable experience. So did grab a Q-snap, and then I did throw in some fabrics other than the one I went shopping for. So I picked up this eighth yard 25 count in a little sassy. Thought that was fun, and I didn't even know there was that much modeling in it because I didn't open it up completely. I just was throwing things in my basket to because I wanted to. So I'm not sure what I'm going to stitch on this. I didn't even realize it was 25 count. I think I was looking into like the 32s and 36s, and I'm not sure how this ended up in there, but If you have a project that you think would be really good for this, 25 count, 1/8 yard size, please feel free to recommend. I am all ears and would love to see what you guys recommend for that. I then picked up an 1/8 yard of 36 count linen. This one does not have a color on it, but it's, you know, a great neutral that would work for a lot of things. In fact, I think I have a pattern that I picked up at the store that I'm going to work with that. So actually, you know what? I'm going to talk about the patterns then. That maybe that might work better. So I was able to pick up 3 patterns that were on her newly released at the Nashville Needlework Market table. And I was like, I've been seeing these on people's Nashville videos and their pre-orders and stuff. And so this one actually caught Andy's eye because his mom loves bees. She, you know, goes by Queen Bee, even though she's one of the sweetest, most kind-hearted people you will ever meet. And she also loves sunflowers. And while I'm not sure that this is a sunflower, it kind of represents this to me. This is from Heart and Hand Bumblebee Etchings. And so I picked up this pattern, and this calls for 36 count Fox and Rabbit Saltbush, which I don't have, but this is 36 count, right? Yes. And so I was thinking that I would stitch this on this. So I need to do a little shopping here in the near future and pick up the flosses for this. It calls for Classic Colorworks, Gentle Art, Sampler Threads, Weeks Dye Works. So I have not worked with any of those fancy threads, so I'm excited to purchase those and see where it goes. So pretty to fold up the fabric, and it's so neatly pressed. So that's what I'm thinking I'm going to stitch that on. Actually, I do kind of have a plan for this 25 count, actually. I was thinking, as long as the size works, I saw this on 1 or 2 different Flosstubes, and then I was Googling Nashville patterns, and I couldn't find this anywhere, and then it was on the table. I was like, I wanted that! So this is from Rebel Stitcher Designs. This is called Disagree, and the quote on it says, "We can disagree and still love each other unless your disagreement is rooted in my oppression and denial of my humanity and right to exist." And with everything going on in the world, I felt like I wanted to stitch this and probably hang this up here in the storefront. So I was actually thinking I might use this 25 count, as long as it's big enough, to stitch this on. So I have to do the math and consider that as I'm kitting things up, but I might use this 25 count for this. This was originally stitched on 32 count Crypt Cloth by Lappin Loops, and it uses Classic Colorworks Granny Annie for the thread. So yeah. If anything I should know about upping my skeins for this project, if it works on 25 count, let me know. I don't think I'd want to go to over 1 on 25 count. I don't think I want to make it necessarily smaller. If anything, I would make it a little bit bigger. So we'll see if it fits. I'm not sure. And then, so that's that fabric. And then the last pattern, I actually don't have fabric for. I was thinking one of these I might do, but this is from Teresa Kogut, who I watch her Flosstube as well, and was watching all of her Nashville releases, and I kind of really loved the black fabric with this kind of primitive design. Usually I'm not a huge primitive stitcher, or, you know, but I loved the way that the colors, this color scheme popped off the black. And so I picked up this pattern booklet, loved it, and this was originally stitched on 36 count Old Top Hat by Bonnie Rogers, or Dames of the Needle. No, the model was stitched by Bonnie Rogers. So thank you, Bonnie, for your model stitching, because it's absolutely lovely. So it's stitched on 36 count Old Top Hat by Dames of the Needle. and it uses all Weeks dye works, it looks like in here. So yeah, so I'm excited to kit this up. The other fabrics that I picked up a 1/8 yard of 36 count linen in Through the Stones, which looks like this. Not sure what I would put on this, but if you know of any designs using this, or if you think you have a design in mind that would look stunning on this, let me know, because again, I am doing Flosstube to show you what my journey, but also to get to know more people in this community and to also be educated on different patterns and dyers and all the fun stuff. So, and then one of the last things I threw in my cart was a big piece of fabric. I picked up a 1/2 yard of 32 count Lugana in dirty chalkboard. And that's what I was actually thinking of stitching this folk art garden on, but it's not dark enough for what I'm going for. I think I need to, I like the model and that's what I think I want to go with. But I do love this Moody fabric. She had a 1/2 yard of it and I was like, I do stitch with a 1/2 yard on a lot of things. So please tell me what would be absolutely stunning on this 1/2 yard of 32 count. I think I could do another big modern folk embroidery piece with a contrasting floss or silk maybe. But yeah, I was like, oh, I love the modeling on this and the blue shots through it. I was like, yes, please get in my cart. My basket. It was very interesting to go shopping and like not everything was priced right away. I mean, you could figure out what the prices was or ask the studio assistants, but I was just like in my cart. And I went to check out and Andy was sitting off into the little side room just playing on his phone. And I was like, wasn't as bad as I thought. It could have been a lot worse, especially since I wasn't keeping track. But the big project that I went to go shopping for was, I was like, I need a project in mind and I want something that is very saturatedly dyed because I'm going to an independent fabric and silk dyers studio and I want something rich and very cool and not something that, you can get that mimics something else that's not hand dyed. So I picked the project from Fox and Rabbit. It is their 2025 stitch along. It is free on their website called Cloister Gardens, I believe. And every month they're releasing a portion of the pattern. So they just released the April portion and it's free all year until December 31st at midnight. And then it becomes a paid for pattern. So as long as you download the last and full pattern by the end of the year, you can get it for free. I think they do amazing work over there. I love watching the Floss and Rabbit Flosstube as well. So you saw kind of an idea of what it's, or at least what it's looking like so far. I joined the Stitch Alongs Facebook group and seeing everybody's projects. And I do love people who are switching up the colors and doing different motifs and different colors. But I wanted to make myself, I'm already branching out with color and with this project very much so. And so I was like, I just want to use one color and not have to worry about changing colors and placements, especially with it being a mystery. So Brandy was very helpful in bringing out a ton of 36 count for me. I needed a 1/2 yard for this project and I wanted to pick the fabric first. There was one I absolutely loved. It was like a soft rainbow in like a pinwheel, but she only had it on 32 count and it wasn't big enough. She's like, well, I'm dying more next week. But I was like, no, I want it today. I'm being impatient. And it was absolutely lovely. But I ended up going between a couple different fabrics. This one, these are so outside my wheelhouse. But I wanted something very bright, very loud, and very saturated. So I picked up a 1/2 yard of 36 count linen in radioactive. It is a radioactive acid green. Green is my favorite color. More in the teal, blue, and bluey greens, but still, this is like, again, an acid sour apple green, and it is a half yard, so it is a large project, but I needed that to fit the entire project. And then I picked up 13 skeins of her hand-dyed silks because according to, is it Brendan is Fox and Rabbits? Is that his name? I think it's Brendan. In his pattern, he recommends that you'll need at least 11 skeins for 36 count. And I was like, I am not the most efficient with my floss and stitching. So I was like, I'm going to get 13 skeins to be safe. And I picked up 13 skeins of Jules' Hand, number 456, from, as you can see, 13. Plus I had to go with what she had enough in stock. And so here it is. And it is absolutely going to pop off of this fabric and just reach your soul when it does, because I wanted something saturated, rich, contrasty that was just going to jump off of the fabric by choosing a floss that was highly contrasting with the fabric. So this is going to be my next new start, because I'm so like I went in with a plan for this. So I know when the new start option gets pulled on my wheel, this is going to be my next new start. So thank you so much to Brandy and her team at Be Stitch Me for being so lovely and welcoming to Andy and myself when we visited a couple of weeks ago. We are definitely looking to hopefully at least make that a yearly trip on our way to the yarn event we were going to in Winterset. And yeah, she has a lovely store, and if you can make it out there, I highly recommend checking that out. And yeah, I'm looking to hopefully, as long as it's not a huge detour, be able to visit some other LNSs on our travels around the country for work. I just need to know about some amazing shops in the country, and if those line up with our travel plans. Like, this was not out of the way at all to visit Be Stitch Me, but we were on a time crunch, and like Andy's like, okay, you have about a half hour. All right, we got to get on the road to make sure that we're there in time. So, so yeah, fabric, floss, patterns, Q-snaps, floss drops. I had a great time there. I also picked up some needles and the little fuzzy brush to get the fuzzies off of your fabric as well. And then I had 2 online orders show up. The first one was an order I placed with Forbidden Fiber Company. This is Leanne. She has the Leanne and Stitches, or Leanne Stitches. I can't remember which one it is. She has her own Flosstube. But I got to meet her in person at the Nash Yarn Fest while we were down there in Nashville. Picked up some of her yarn, but she had released a book collection of cross-stitch patterns and kits right before that, but she didn't have it at Nashville. So I went online and ordered one of the kits, and I did ask for her to send me the PDF of the pattern, which I've put a picture in here for you to see. But I also asked, as you see in the picture, the stack of books were pinks, and I was like, could you do some cooler tones instead of pinks if you're able to? If not, I would have stitched it with pinks, but I knew with chatting with Leanne that she was awesome, and she did. So this is an 1/8 yard of 32 count Belfast linen in the colorway Bungalow. And then she sent me 4 skeins, I believe it's 4, of, actually, I'll take them out. I'll take them out and show you. I'm already getting a little too long-winded here. I was trying to keep this short, so. But she sent me 4 skeins, nope, 5 skeins of her hand-dyed cottons to go on that. We have Azure, Grasshopper, Little Brown Bat, Powder, and Bayberry. So those are going to be for my literature piece. I'm super excited about that. So Thank you, Leanne, for being so accommodating and even chatting with me afterwards on email. I appreciate it. She was absolutely lovely. The customer service was absolutely lovely. So I highly recommend checking out Forbidden Fiber Company. I've known of her company for years, but we just never made the connection, and cross-stitching allowed us to make that connection. And now I'm excited, hopefully, maybe if we ever get down into the Memphis area to maybe check out her studio. So I don't think she's open to the public, but Dyer to Dyer, she might welcome us. I don't know. The last order that I got online took a little while to get here because I ordered this from Forest Embroidery out of Russia. I have one of their free patterns saved on my computer called 100 Owls, and it's literally like, it's not a sampler. It's an owl sampler of 100 different owls of different sizes. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go on their website and I'm going to buy the threads, the hand-dyed threads and fabric that they recommend. So I did get I don't remember what, I think this is a 32 count. Linen and flax, I think. And then this is the thread pack for the 100 Owls. So I'm excited to try them out. And now that I have the threads and fabric, I can have this in my, I think I'm going to have another wheel for things that are kitted up so that when a new start gets picked, once I start Cloister Gardens, then I can have all these things are kitted. So what's going to be my new start? So excited to try out their products. And I thought their pricing was reasonable. So that's my haul and all of my progress for the last month. Excuse me. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I know there are tons of Flosstubers out there, and if you're checking out this video, I really appreciate you sitting down. Hopefully you got some crafting done and enjoyed this video. Again, if you have a Flosstube, please feel free to link in the comments and let me know of your channel so that I can check you out. Or if there's any Flosstubers that you're like, you really need to check them out, please feel free to link them below. And if you have any questions for me, I'd love to get the conversation going and address them here on the channel. And yeah, thank you so much, so very much. I just thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, y'all, I'm going to head off and get myself cleaned up here and get myself ready to do the Dramatic Knits podcast. If you'd like to know what's been going on in my life more than what I've mentioned here, as well as books and reading and new things in the store and my knitting and spinning, please check out the Dramatic Knits podcast, which will be forthcoming here shortly. And until I see you next month, I hope you are stitching, stitching, stitching. See you in May. Bye.